The company mailed out a laptop. That was the normal part. The abnormal part was who received it. On paper, the new hire looked like a remote software worker. There had been an interview, there was a name, there was a place to send the device, there was a payroll path. The process had all the small pieces that make a company feel like it knows who is on the other side. But the process was wrong before the box ever left the building. This is the quiet failure behind the North Korean fake IT worker schemes warned about by the FBI and the Justice Department. It does not begin with a cinematic break-in. It begins with a hiring workflow that treats identity, shipping, payroll, and access as separate tasks. That separation is the failure. Remote work made many things faster. A candidate can interview from anywhere. A laptop can be shipped instead of picked up. A developer can be added to tools before anyone has ever met them in person. Most of the time, that is efficient. But efficiency is not verification. If the wrong identity passes through the hiring process, every normal step after that starts amplifying the mistake. The interview says, "This person belongs here." The shipping process says, "This person needs equipment." The access request says, "This person needs internal tools." The payroll setup says, "This person is now part of the company." Each step may look reasonable by itself. Together, they can turn a false identity into a real internal foothold. The FBI has warned that North Korean IT workers seek remote technology jobs using false or stolen identities. The public guidance is direct. The risk is not just that a company pays the wrong person. The risk is that a person the company does not truly know can receive trust, devices, and access. That is why the laptop matters. A laptop is not just hardware. Inside a company, it is a passport. It can be enrolled, managed, trusted, and connected. It can become the bridge between an outside identity and an inside environment. In the cases described by law enforcement, facilitators helped make that bridge look ordinary. Some schemes used US-based infrastructure, some relied on devices being routed through laptop farms, so a worker outside the country could appear closer to the company than they really were. That is the part that makes the story feel less like a spy thriller and more like an operations failure. The deception did not need a dramatic costume. It needed paperwork that looked boring enough to pass. A normal interview, a normal device shipment, a normal request for access. The company was not being asked to do something strange. It was being asked to do exactly what it does for remote workers every week. That is why trusted processes are dangerous when they are split apart. Human resources may verify one part. It may ship another part. Security may approve another part. Finance may process another part. Each team sees a narrow slice of the worker. The fraud lives in the gaps between those slices. By the time someone asks a harder question, the system may have already acted as if the answer was yes. The Department of Justice has described cases where fraudulent remote IT work generated revenue for North Korea. The broader official warnings connect the scheme to false identities, facilitators, and remote work platforms. The public lesson is not that every remote worker is suspicious. That would be lazy and wrong. The lesson is that remote hiring is a security surface. When a company hires someone, it is not only buying labor, it is issuing trust. And trust has a supply chain. It begins with identity. Is the person who they say they are? It moves through location. Is the device where the company thinks it is? It moves through payment. Is the money going where the company thinks it is going? It moves through access. What can this worker reach once the account is live? If those questions are answered by different systems that never compare notes, the chain can look clean while the identity at the center is false. The worst version does not stop at payroll fraud. The FBI has also warned about cases where North Korean IT workers moved into data theft and extortion. That does not mean every case follows the same path. It means the consequence can expand after the trust has already been granted. First, the company thinks it hired a worker. Then it realizes the worker was never who the process said they were. Then it has to ask a harder question. What did that account see while it was trusted? That question is the real cost. A fake employee can be removed from payroll. A laptop can be disabled. An account can be locked. But the company still has to reconstruct the period when the process treated the wrong person as legitimate. What code repositories were visible? What customer systems were reachable? What internal documents could be opened? What secrets, keys, or credentials were nearby? Those questions are expensive because they arrive late. The failure did not announce itself at the interview. It did not announce itself when the box shipped. It did not announce itself when the account was created. It only became visible after the company had to connect the pieces backward. That is the pattern this channel is built around. A small decision enters a complex system. The system amplifies it. Then everyone calls the result a surprise. In this case, the small decision was not one click. It was one assumption. The person in the workflow is the person we think they are. Once that assumption entered the business, the rest of the chain did what it was built to do. It moved fast. It shipped equipment. It issued access. It reduced friction. And that is exactly what made it useful to the attacker. The defense is not to mistrust remote work. Remote work is real, normal, and necessary. The defense is to stop treating hiring, device shipment, payment, and access as separate trust decisions. For roles with internal access, the identity check cannot end at the interview. The device path matters. The payment path matters. The account behavior matters. The location story matters. The handoff between teams matters. If one part of the company sees a new hire, another part sees a shipping address, another part sees a payroll setup, and another part sees an access request, nobody may see the actual chain. That is the failure. The laptop was not the first compromise. The first compromise was trusting the wrong identity before the laptop arrived.